Coming up, the Panthers crunch their way to 6 golden chocolates for the weekend. St. Helens continue their holy crusade atop of the Super League table. And Hastings is resurrected to provide the Tigers with their first win of the season. Yes, hello, and welcome to the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and today is your NRL Week 7 debrief, and it is our very solemn occasion because it is the ANZAC round. But before we jump into the ANZAC Day clashes, we've got to start at the top with the Cronulla Sharks playing host to the Manly Sea Eagles to begin round 7.
Yes, it is very much so. So Seagulls, Morgan Harper is back. So Koala goes to reserve. Josh Aloiai is out and is taken by Pasika. Sean Kepi and Bullimore joined the bench with Kurt De Lewis as well, and Martin Tapau is still sidelined.
2 changes for the Sharks in the pack with the loss of Dale Finucane. Cam McInnes is named to start at lock forward. Aidan Tolman is lifted to start in the front row, with Royce Hunt joining the interchange for Craig Fitzgibbon's side. But I tell you what, this game could go either way, given the performances of both these sides over the weekend. First on the Manly Sea Eagles, only getting away from the Gold Coast 26 points to 18.
Yeah, they only just got away from that. I mean, they did go out. I think they did
4 tries. 4 tries early on, where Daly Cherry Evans had that ball on a string.
As per normal. But Gold Coast come back. Made a second half comeback. 3 tries in 14 minutes.
That was absolutely surprising, the way Manly fell off. I thought after Kieran Foran scored, it was practically Manly could have gone anywhere with this.
It was 24-4 at half time. So, yeah, but the rate that they were going, it could have gone more into Manly's favour. But like you said, they dropped off big time.
They dropped off big time. And with David Fafita given free rein, with how many players hanging off him again?
3.
So there you go. 3 players hanging off him there. And you're thinking, okay, so he's done that. And then backed up by the captain in the middle of the field. The Titans were coming thick and fast. So Manly very lucky to hang on there. Indeed.
The only thing that let Gold Coast down was the goal kicking by Toby Sexton, who got 1 from 4. So
yeah.
Gold Coast could have practically won that game if the goal kicking was a lot better.
Arguably so. And Hamole Olakawatu, standout player for Manly, 2 tries, 121 running meters, 5 tackle breaks, and 2 line breaks. I tell you what, those Manly back rowers, they're something special, aren't they?
Yeah, they certainly are. They're going on, like, not only is the spine, the back line and the likes and that, but their forward pack in second row, they're just something else this year.
Now, speaking of something else, the Melbourne Storm getting up over the Cronulla Sharks 34-18.
Cracking match. Although the Sharks did eventually die off at the end.
Resilient they were, but Melbourne were just a class above them. As they are, with literally 90% of the league, a class above everyone else.
Yeah, have to agree with you right there.
Cameron Munster, once again, an absolute standout display from him. 1 try assist, 2 line breaks, 4 tackle breaks, and 1 offload. But the scrum plays, they come up with 0 tackle. I believe it was the Jerome Hughes or Justin Olam's second try. The scrum play, they got him again.
Yeah, it's right on half time. It was Justin Olam's second try, I believe. So, unbelievable.
Melbourne are really loving those scrum plays, aren't they?
They are. And the league the rest of the teams need to put Melbourne put the league on notice of what they can do off the scrum, so everyone else needs to watch what they can do.
That is definitely the case right there. Just absolute avalanche from the Melbourne Storm, pulling the Sharks' edges apart. But I tell you what, Cronulla tried their best for Renato Mulatalo to stay in the game.
They certainly did. It was just a cracking match, and the Sharks absolutely got everything thrown at them. They tried the absolute best. There was some things that could have gone that went against them.
Well, losing Dale Finucane and didn't help their case early.
No. And then Controversy time.
Oh, here we go. Controversy corner.
McInnes got put on report for what was supposedly a hip drop tackle on Ryan Pappenhausen.
Was it a hit drop, though?
No. It was just how the tackle was going. Like, the tackle ended up, like, McInnes had Pappenhausen tackled. It's just how it swung around. And Pappenhausen got up with a bit of, like, stayed on the ground with a bit of an ankle. But it wasn't a hip drop. It was just how the tackle was. So if McInnes gets suspended, it's bullshit.
Well, he hasn't been suspended to this point yet. No charges have come through.
Good. So it should be.
Now, getting back to this game. This is one of those that can go either way between two really good sides.
It certainly can. It's a flip of a coin. There's a few of them this week coming. I don't know what to say. It's depending who I'm going to say who the referee favours.
Well, that's a question. But we know for a fact Graham Annesley has come out and said there is no bias in the officiating ranks, because if there was, there'd probably be a scandal for weeks.
But that was between the top and bottom teams, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't exist.
These are top teams, though.
It doesn't exist, because if it did, why would there be no scrutiny? Why wouldn't there be a larger emphasis on that then?
True.
It just doesn't happen. It's just poor discipline from lower ranked sides getting frustrated when the top sides maintain it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Now, getting back to this game, if the Sharks are to get up here, I think they need to tighten their defence up, because this was the one time where the defence let them down in a high-scoring environment.
It was, and against Manly, whose forward pack is going very, very well as of late, it's going to be hard.
And as for Manly, avoid the dead spot, because, like you said, Gold Coast nailed the kicking. They pull off an upset win at Brookvale that night.
Possibly,
but it makes the result a lot more competitive than what it was. But Daly Cherry Evans' organisation and kicking game, I think that's what kept Manly in the game. And right there, especially his influence early on, I got to go with Manly 1-6 here. I think if they are to do it, I think Cherry Evans steps up again.
I'm going to go to the home side, and probably by what? I'm going to say the Sharkies by 2 points. It's going to be a very, very close game, and the home crowd will get them over the line.
Well, we'll see how that happens right there. Now, moving on to Friday. Only one game on Friday, and that is the Brisbane Broncos playing host to the Canterbury Bulldogs. The Dogs in crisis mode after a spicy cough outbreak has wreaked havoc already with 8 players sidelined. So the changes that have been made. Jacob Carraz will get a start in the centres, the cover for Jake Averell. Jaden Ockenbaugh drafted onto the wing with no Brent Naden. And Billy Sarikas drafted in onto the 70 with no Alva Siamanafanai. And there is no Brandon Wakeham, who was also going to be on the bench.
Or was it Averillo that had the
We already did Averillo.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
So, yeah, absolute havoc throughout the Dogs camp right there.
There still could be more to come yet, maybe.
Please, God, that'd be
Let's hope not. As for the home side, Tessa New being out, so opens for Tamare Martin to play his first game since retiring in 2020.
Due to his bleeding on the brain.
Yeah, so that's a very, very special return for Tamare Martin. Herbie Farnworth is back with Tyson Gamble to 5/8 with Walters going to the bench. Payne Haas is returning, so Palacia is also back to the bench. Corey Pakes is at dummy half with Turpin out, and Flogart gets a spot on the bench on his return from suspension, and Ryan James dropping out altogether.
Both of these sides didn't play well on Good Friday. In fact, they got towed up, the pair of them. First, the Dogs going down to the Rabbitohs, 36 points to 16, and the Broncos getting thumped by the Panthers, 40 points to 12.
Although their first quarter of the first 20 minutes or so did put a scare through Penrith.
Yeah, that was the thing. The Broncos were up against Penrith early.
Like they did against the Roosters the week before.
Yeah, trying to back that up, but just the Panthers, once they clicked into gear, Brisbane just couldn't go with them.
That's true. I know Brisbane only got the one try in the first half, but it took 20 minutes before Penrith got theirs. Which, how often do you see that happen?
Yeah, but then they scored one try to round out the first half, and then they laid up on 3 tries within the first 10 minutes of the second half, or first 20 minutes, I should say.
First 20 minutes. But
and that put the game beyond doubt.
Three tries in the first 20-minute window at the second half, but 3 in 10 minutes.
And as for the Dogs, we started confidently. We got the first try on the board. Some beautiful work from Kyle Flanagan and playing out on that right edge. Just to set up Brent Naden in the corner. But then South Sydney just took over. Damien Cook, absolute monster for the Rabbitohs there. 3 tries, 89 run meters, 3 tackle breaks and an offload. Whilst Nathan Cleary, standout performance for the Panthers, 122 running meters, 3 try assists, 3 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, 3 goal line dropouts, and 6 from 7 goals converted.
Wow. I thought you were going to say 3 for a second.
There's a lot of things that ended in 3 right there.
Yeah.
Including for the Dogs, 3 unforced changes. Well, 3, I should say, forced changes to the lineup.
I think 3 is Sideline Chat's favourite number.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is.
No. I have to agree with you with Cleary as man of the match. I have to give a shout out to Scotty Sorensen from Penrith. That try, he just went straight through him and had the speed to get there.
No, that's poor. That's poor if he's just able to slice through like that.
Fair point. But how often do you see, he's a quiet achiever, you could say.
I suppose you could say he couldn't find his place in the Sharks forward pack, and we've got to remember that Cronulla forward pack 2018 to 19 was pretty strong.
Yeah.
I think he was absolutely within his right to try and find his opportunities elsewhere, and he has done exactly that. And I'm pretty sure, wasn't he also on the interchange bench when Penrith won the premiership last year?
I believe so.
Well, there you go. Oh, so he's definitely taken his opportunities, and it has benefited. Now, focusing back on this game.
Look, the Dogs, what else can go wrong for them? Had what? So far we've confirmed 4 spicy cough players out. Plus, what, 8 injuries on top of that?
So that's already a third of the side, nearing a half, out of there. Having to call up players from the New South Wales Cup side.
Getting permission from the NRL.
To get the exemptions, but I think given the circumstances, it's
And
already been granted.
Hopefully there's no more, but there could be more yet.
Well, we don't know, and I'm praying, like I said...
I hope there isn't any either.
I like what I saw against both Penrith and the Rabbitohs in spots. I think we got robbed in the second Brent Naden try.
Yes.
Score, because that would have made the game a lot different at 24 to 10, but instead it got knocked back, and then the Rabbitohs ran in another 2 tries on top of that. But we pulled it back. The Fox got on the board, so we just need to get an early ball. That's all it is.
It is, and there are improvement, I think. But yeah, Dogs are slowly improving in patches. They seem to be more consistent across the 80.
But there's a whole weight of things that are just playing against the Dogs here. And the Broncos, I think, they'll be looking for a bounce back with essentially a rookie fullback in Tamare Martin.
Generally played in halves, yes.
But there's a lot of strength in that Brisbane forward pack. I can't go past the Broncos winning this 1-6. I think Adam Reynolds will outplay Kyle Flanagan here, and I think the Dogs will remain anchored to the bottom of the ladder.
Well, with the return of Payne Haas would help Brisbane. And with all these off-field distractions for the Dogs will not help them. I'm going to say Brisbane by 16 points.
So I'm calling it Brisbane 1-6. You're calling it Brisbane 13+.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough mountain to climb. Now, the first of the Saturday games. It's the North Queensland Cowboys up against the Gold Coast Titans.
For Gold Coast, exactly the same 7-8. With Campbell coming amongst the reserves.
Does Justin Holbrook stick solid with Jermaine Asako at the back?
I'd say he'll put Jaden Campbell back there.
Well, we'll see how that one and pairs out. Now, a couple of changes for the North Queensland Cowboys. Griffin Neame back in the 70, in for Todd Payton after missing last week through to concussion. Jordan McLean lifted back into the starting side with Kennelly Lemuelu back to the reserves and Ruben Cotter to the bench. The big one, though, the hammer. Hamiso Tabuai Fido listed in the reserves in jumper 23.
I'd say he won't play this week.
Well, I wouldn't be leaving Scott Drinkwater at this point, and it was because of Scott Drinkwater in the 18-12 point win over the Canberra Raiders. He was the standout for the Cowboys.
That was
99 running meters, 1 try assist, the try assist that won the game, 2 tackle breaks, and 1 offload.
Put it this way, Ricky Stewart wouldn't be happy.
Again. Wouldn't be happy again.
Yeah. But the Cowboys, they're just coming out of nowhere and put, 3 converted tries on.
The Raiders' fast start to be 12-0 up with inside the first 15 minutes. And then they didn't.
And at halftime.
And they didn't score a single try after that opening 15 minutes.
Nope.
Not a solitary point.
Nope.
And then for these talented Cowboys back rowers, Tao Malolo, yet another impressive game. This is sort of the Tao Malolo people usually think about. I didn't regard him as a standout, but he still put in a very good performance. 255 running meters, 5 tackle breaks, and an offload to boot. That's hard, solid running through the middle. And he played nearly the majority of the game as well.
That's the Tao Malolo we need to see week in, week out. We're starting to see it again.
Yeah, played nearly the opening 15 minutes and then had a 22-minute spell at the back end.
Yeah. And two out of 3 try scorers were forwards.
Yeah, the back rowers, Heelan
and
Lukey and Jeremiah Nanai.
Yeah. How crazy is that?
That is just insane to think of it that way. But the Raiders, where do they go? Where do they go?
They're just not consistent. That's all I can say. Not consistent.
Yeah, that's probably the way to think about it. Of course, we've touched on Gold Coast, so this game really becomes interesting again.
Well, yeah, and also with the Cowboys beating Canberra, that doesn't... Canberra's first home loss this season.
On one hand, you've got the Titans, who like to play a hard, flat and fast style of football with spectacular tries scored from deep inside their own half.
And comeback. Well, not comeback kings, but brilliant second half performance.
Late second half surges they have. Then you've got this Gold Coast side. Sorry, not this Gold Coast side.
Cowboys.
You've got this North Queensland side, on the other hand, who've got some very talented players in the ranks and can do exactly the same thing when they're on.
Yeah, come back. Well, not come back, but come back and try and snag the win from behind, which is what they did against Canberra. This is an interesting contest.
This is a very interesting contest.
Both
have got big forward packs.
North versus South Queensland.
It's exactly what this is. And that's really where you have to think about it. It all depends on whether the hammer plays or not. Because if he plays, I would have him out to the wing.
I don't think he'll be there.
Because I don't think he's a fullback.
He won't be there this week. Maybe next week.
The hammer is as much a fullback as Valentine Holmes is a centre. They just don't work. But you have Drinkwater at fullback, and then you have the hammer taking the place of Taulagi on the flank, or pushing Holmes out to the flank, and he plays in the centres. All of a sudden, the Cowboys' backline takes on a very different complexion right there.
Yeah.
And a lot more opportunities is to be had.
This is interesting. I reckon it's going to come down to the battle of the forwards.
Well, if Tao Malolo runs for 200 metres plus again, I think the Cowboys, they just get home. Just if Lukey and Nanai get some good ball, or because we know how athletic Nanai is in the air.
Yes.
If they get it up. I think the Cowboys at home really make a statement against what really are one of the NRL's present underachievers.
True.
I'm going to say North Queensland win this 1-6.
I have to agree. Cowboys by 6. Like I said, it's going to come down to the forwards and the creativity of the halves. And having Drinkwater out at fullback is technically an extra half out in the field.
It definitely is the case. Now, the second Saturday game, West Tigers versus the Rabbitohs at Combank Stadium. A couple of changes for Jason Demetriou. Jaime Sele named in the starting pack, with Tom Burgess returning to the interchange, and Davey Mullally a recall with Isaiah Tart dropping back to the reserves.
For the first time this season, Mark Maguire, exactly the same 17, with Simpkin suffering an ankle injury in their win against Parramatta on Monday. But he is expected to play. Jacob Little is amongst the reserves and could come in if Jock Madden could come in if required, while Madden is another dummy half option.
Yes, a shock win over the Parramatta Eels, downing them 21 points to 20.
In regulation time, but only just.
What was that game? Just what was that game?
I think the game of the round shifted from the Storm Sharks to the Eels Tigers match.
I was dumbfounded. I was absolutely speechless for the first half of that game. And maybe even the first 20 minutes. I was just like,
it's tit for tat.
What is this? What was this?
Tiger. When I saw the Tigers score, I thought, you're kidding me, right? Then Eels scored, I was like, oh, here we go. Then the Tigers scored again. I'm like, well, head on a second.
What is this side?
And then they scored again.
How many players from the Roosters has Michael Maguire stolen?
I don't know.
Well, the answer was no, but there.
Exactly. But then Tigers went back-to-back with Nofaluma twice to put them in front at the break.
The pinpoint kicks. Luke Brooks at 5'8". Holy shit.
And Hastings alongside him.
This is the halves combination I wanted. I wanted Hastings for the Tigers to win. I wanted Hastings to be the first choice playmaker, and there's your result right there.
Wasn't he there in rounds 1 and 2?
He was suspended after round 2, so
yeah, but
first game back,
but he's still there. He played at halfback in round 2 against Knights. That were terrible, as in terrible game for the
with
Tigers.
Brooks the first choice playmaker.
Yeah. And then they gave it to Melbourne early on in round 1.
But Jackson Hastings here, 96 run meters, 1 try assist, 2 goal line dropouts, 1 from 1 goals converted, and the field goal from 38 meters out with 5 seconds left on the clock to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable match. Packed out Combank Stadium. The atmosphere was awesome from what we saw on the Fox League coverage. It was awesome ripping game to get into. It was as if you see stuff the whole match.
I'm not going to take anything away from the Tigers here, but the Eels basically lost themselves. They lost the game. 15 mistakes.
Yeah, they made way too many errors, which is not like Parramatta. But was that because of the pressure from the Tigers?
Well, if it was the pressure, it certainly paid off for the Tigers.
Well, some of the Eels' errors were unforced as well, mind you.
Oh, but just Jesus. If Parramatta wanted to win that game, they just needed to hold the ball and get through their sets. They didn't do that. The Tigers, though 27 from 35, significantly better than their Western rivals right there.
At one stage of the match, the Tigers were completed every single set. They were near perfect with their set completions. When was the last time we saw that from the Tigers this season?
There was a soft defence. They didn't wrap up Luciano Leilua early. That's what started this all. But then you couldn't really defend the 2 tries for David Norfoluma. That was just something else.
Yeah.
And then they fought back Parramatta, but just the goals let them down.
Well, you could say that for the Tigers too.
Now, focusing back on this game, this now This is not exactly straightforward as you think. None of these games in this round are exactly straightforward.
Well, Tigers are going back to the stadium when they were the away side and just won as the home side. Coming up against the south side that haven't been the best so far this year. But they have been better compared to some other teams.
The expectation before Easter Monday, in my rationale, was the Rabbitohs to bully the Tigers into submission.
Yeah.
Now, that's not happening. That is not happening. I do not see the Rabbitohs putting on a scoreline here. In fact, I think the Tigers are onto something here. No, don't get me wrong. South Sydney have a superior forward pack, but we saw the kicking game of Brooks and Hastings showed superior forward pack don't mean jack if you can't execute off the back of that.
True.
And they kept the likes of Campbell Gillard, Papali'i, and Nathan Brown well contained. What's not to say...
Papali'i did score a try.
Well, yeah, he did, but largely contained. What's not to say they can do the same thing with Cam Murray, or Tom Burgess, or Damien Cook?
Because Damien Cook would be a big weapon. I can see what you're saying, but I would have thought, before Easter Monday, Rabbitohs would have blitzed them by 13 plus. Now, seeing what happened, I'm going to say Rabbitohs to win by 12 points. It brings the margin down drastically, but by 12. Rabbits.
I think Luke Brooks and Jackson Hastings, that's their blueprint. And I think they can back it up. I genuinely think now they're going to be riding not just on their first win, the fact that they knocked off a team in the top four or a top four contender.
That can they do it for 2 weeks in a row?
I reckon they can. I think if they can maintain that amount of control early and really apply some pressure, especially to that South Sydney right edge, and get Ken Mamalo some good ball, I think the Tigers win this 1-6.
And you know what the scary thing is? Adam Dewey's still yet to come back.
And that's the thing. Once Adam Dewey comes back in...
And Tommy Talia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to back the
scary
Tigers.
thing.
I'm going to back them in.
Yeah, fair enough. As you already know, Bunny's by 12 for me.
7-12.
Yeah, but 12 is the margin.
Yeah. Now, going on to Sunday, it's the Newcastle Knights at home to the Parramatta Eels. Newcastle, wow. How unlucky were they not to come away with the chocolates?
Literally, the chocolates.
Going down to St. George Illawarra, 21 points to 16. But I got to say, the Knights looked like they were the better side for the majority of that game.
It was a very, very good game from both clubs. Both desperate for a win. Although I do believe, I'm going to say this, so die of shock if you want. Well, please don't. When the Knights did a short kickoff and Jack Bird got the ball, it was offside. There was no penalty given.
And you want to know why that is the case?
Why?
Well, I don't know why, but the reason why they didn't bring it back to that, because there was no stoppage in play. Think about it. If the Knights still had their captain's challenge, they could have tried and challenged that.
True, but that could have, because at the time that happened, it was 17-16 in favour of the Dragons.
And it's a wonder how the touch judge missed that.
Knights could have taken the 2, they would have taken the 2, and they could have won that game 18-17.
And I think many agree they should have.
I have to agree that Jack Bird was offside and the penalty was missed there.
But you're still happy with the result?
Oh, definitely. Very happy indeed.
The ball movement of Newcastle early really put the Dragons, because it was a boring first half. Nothing really happened.
Besides 2 tries, 1 from each side.
The ball movement between Tyson Frizzell and Dane Gagai, that was some good work between the two of them there, especially with Gagai acting as a support runner back in the inside for Frizzell.
True.
And then Bradford Best. If you're looking for Origin Edition, bang, there's an Origin Audition right there.
To replace Latrell Mitchell, yeah.
Arguably, just you get him that early ball. That's from that quick play of the ball. Clemmer as well. Would you agree he made a bit of a difference that Knights forward pack?
I mean, having him back did help. It did really help the Knights come back. They just unlucky that offside call went against them, though.
Yeah, definitely he was rather unlucky right there. Now, getting back onto the side. And there is a couple of changes for Brett Harper. Junior Paulo, after farcically being suspended for one game, is named back in the front row. Regan Campbell or Gillard also named. Whether or not that stays that way remains to be seen. With Oregon Kafusi back to the reserves, Jake Arthur given a recall over Bryce Cartwright, and Hayes Perham named to start on the left wing, with Will Penasini, in most likely circumstances, shifting back to his right centre position.
As for our Knights, Adam Clune is named despite being a late withdrawal against his former side due to a knee injury. With that in play, Crossland is back to the bench and Sasagi is back to 8th man. Homer Hunt is edging closer, and Daniel Safidi is listed to start but could swap with brother Jacob like last week.
It was good seeing Edric Lee back, though.
18 months. What a long time.
Origin 3 2020. Talk about a break.
I reckon. Unfortunate break, though.
Yeah, very much an unfortunate break. Now, the thing I don't get is, we've seen what Bryce Cartwright can do, yet he continues to be selected as the 18th man, and even when picked, not too much game time.
No, which is a bit of a head scratcher for... Well, I know I'm not a Parramatta fan, but it's a bit of a head scratcher for me, and probably for you being a second team supporter.
Yeah, I find that absolutely bizarre. But look, I think the game plan for the Eels is simple. Like we said with Easter Monday, they cut the errors out. They can do anything.
Yeah.
And they should have won against the Tigers, but they didn't.
I don't know. I don't know if they would have won regardless of errors or not. Missing Junior Paulo would have helped.
Well, that was farcical how he got suspended.
Yeah.
Absolutely farcical. And they've already got a right mind to complain to the NRL about all the calls that have gone against them, about players that should have been suspended or were suspended but not for as long as they intended. They can't catch a break with this. And with on top of their injury crisis that they have in the outside backs, they can't catch a break either.
No, they can't.
Of course, Penasini returning to centre is at the expense of Marata Niokore, pulling out with leg tightness.
Yeah.
The Knights are going to get a good crowd, nothing sure.
I'm going to say it's going to be near capacity again. Every time Newcastle play at McDonald Jones Stadium on a Sunday afternoon, it's always near packed out. Regardless of the event. But being Anzac Day, it will be near packed out yet again.
Anzac Eve.
Anzac Eve, sorry.
It's not Anzac Day. You're jumping a little bit too ahead.
Yeah, sorry. But if Newcastle could put up the performance they did against the Dragons, they are within a shout. But if Eels, like you said, cut out errors, they'll be all over it.
Parramatta, especially now they've got Junior Paulo back, that's their full forward pack complement. And I don't think the Safidis and Clemmer can go with what the Eels are offering. I think, and especially if Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown start running. They start running, start scoring. I'm going to say the Eels have a major bounce back here and they win this game 13+.
Well, with the off-field distractions that Newcastle have had about Pollard's future, because that has been locked in.
Yes, he has now been locked in on a 5-year, his current deal extended until the end of 2027, putting to bed any speculation that he was going to sign with the Dolphins.
Despite what certain media outlets have said.
What, the same media outlets that said that there was no swap between James Maloney and Matt Moylan? Same outlets that proved the John Bateman and George Williams stories to be correct, that they ended up returning to the UK?
Yeah. Well, I got this wrong.
Those same outlets? I'm just asking you.
They got this one wrong, though. Because apparently they said that Newcastle pulled the offer off the table for Palmer. And what do? He signs with them for a further, 3-5 years off his deal. Anyway, back to this game. I'm going to say it was by 14 points in front of a packed out McDonald Jones Stadium.
I think it would be embarrassing if we got this one wrong again. But
I don't think
it's going to happen again, but...
Well, let's hope not.
Just say... Hey. Now, on the Sunday, it's the Penrith Panthers playing host to the Canberra Raiders. And of course, we all know how well the Panthers played and how badly the Raiders did. But let's see what the team sheet looks like for Ricky Stewart and Ivan Cleary.
Ricky Stewart, he has a couple of changes to Jordan Rapana replacing Chance Nickel-Klukstad at fullback, who goes to the bench. Xavier Savage is on to the win. Harry Rushton could make his NRL debut. Actually, will make his NRL debut after being included on the bench, with Emre Gula joining Jared Croker in the reserves, with Hudson Young 18th man and Sebastian Chris out of the squad altogether.
Probably for the third week running, Ivan Cleary is pleased to announce a unchanged lineup to the Penrith Panthers, though his son and co-captain Nathan very lucky to beat that charge on Billy Walters.
Do you reckon he should have got suspended for it?
Hell yeah, he should have. But we all
know
know what's happened here. It's one rule for the Panthers because his name is Nathan Cleary. But I guarantee you, if it was anyone else in the other 15 clubs, 1 game suspension right then, right there.
Yeah.
But because it's Cleary, and look, I like Nathan Cleary. 40 was a bit overrated.
But it's a bit bubble wrapped.
But then he won the premiership and was like, yes, he is serious. He is a serious premiership winner.
Yeah, look, he was a bit protected then. I'd say his daddy paid the fine. Daddy paid the NRL to get him the fine, I reckon.
But
I could be wrong. I'm just...
It was like, they reckon it was a hip drop that he did. But I think what happened was, it was actually just an awkward legs tackle, you know? It just ended up being the, quote, dangerous contact.
Exactly like what Junior Paulos was.
Yeah, sort of like that.
And McInnes luckily didn't get fined or suspended after what they called a hip drop tackle, and it wasn't.
Look, this is going to be a one-sided affair.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it right here, right now. It is not going to be pretty for Ricky Stewart. If he thought last week was bad, he has got the reigning premiers to contend with. The Panthers win this 13+. There is just a class difference between these two sides right now. And I think if they can't win here, they're not going to win another game all year, I reckon.
Oh, that's a big call there. Penrith are looking to go, 21 or 22 straight
It is
home.
in the mid-20s at home.
And, go 7 to start the year. Penrith by 32 points.
So, Panthers win 13+. It's a safe bet. It is seriously a safe bet to back the Panthers in.
Yes.
Now to the most solemn occasion on the rugby league calendar, of course, it is the ANZAC Day doubleheader. We start off at 4 o'clock with the St George Illawarra Dragons and the Sydney Roosters at the Sydney Cricket Ground. One change for Trent Robinson, Paul Momorowski coming in for Kevin Nagama. The Roosters, of course, downing the Warriors 22-14 at the SCG only a week before for the 20th anniversary grand final of the 20th anniversary of the 2002 grand final. What a game that was.
It was a ripper of a game. And it was very nice to see that both Castor and Canterbury... Puma, threw back to the 2002 premiership winning jersey designs.
I would say Puma did a half job.
The only thing that let them down was the shorts.
The shorts and the socks. They should have... the Roosters, they were fine because they had their home shorts and away socks to work
and
with.
What I really liked about the Roosters was the throwback numbers.
Yes.
Bring back the old school numbers.
That was mid-looking. I think that was the best jersey Castor have done, but between their association both with the Roosters and the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah.
Puma, I think they dropped the ball. They could have had the black shorts, the black socks with the blue and the red trim on them. I just think that would have absolutely completed that throwback look.
Must be some reason for it, but hey, they both still look good though.
Oh, they did. And the game, wow. How good did the Warriors start
Yeah,
off?
I thought the Warriors were going to cause an upset here against the Roosters,
It
but
genuinely looked like it was going to go that way.
no, somehow Roosters come back.
But that downward Tennis Lesniak try, holy shit, Reece Walsh, that kick.
Oh no, pinpoint accurate.
Wow. Just absolutely wow. I was just like, who could have scored that better? Who could have set that up better? That's a Cooper Cronk style
I was going to
kick
say
right there.
maybe Cleary.
But that banana kick, just Johnson running the ball on tackle 5, gets it back to Walsh, crossfield kick for Wateni Zelezniak, so good that Daniel Tupou slips over
Yes,
and he scores.
you don't see Tupou slip over very often, if not at all.
We should actually run for that at the top of the app. Or just like Reese Lightning causes Daniel Tupou to slip.
Yeah, true.
What could have been? What could have been? But this was a highly entertaining game.
It certainly was.
And one where I feel the Roosters absolutely
We're lucky to get away with it.
to fight back from again. This is the second time in 2 weeks they've had to fight their way back into a game.
Yes.
And Sammy Walker, like Fittler in the 2002 grand final, it was the 5'8" who stood up here. 1 try, 85 running meters, 3 tackle breaks, and 5 from 5 goals converted.
Yeah. Back to this match. Dragons side, unchanged.
I'll tell you what,
Which
Moses
is still
Suli,
which I still disagree with. Sloan's amongst the reserves and Nimone off the bench.
and Sullivan in the wider reserves.
Yes, I still disagree with all that, but
But Moses Suli, best decision Anthony Griffin has made.
yes,
And how good was he against the Knights? 181 running meters, 2 try assists, 8 tackle breaks, and 2 offloads.
bit of a quiet start to the year, I feel, but he's getting into it. But yeah, it's one of the best signings Griffin has made.
Absolute belter of a signing. And really thriving outside the environment that Des Hazard created for him.
Yeah.
I suspect he will be competing with Katoni Staggs and Conrad Hurrell for a spot in the centres at Tonga's World Cup's up campaign.
Possibly.
Easily battling the both of them.
True, fair enough. This match, where do we go? Roosters got a bit of a scare for 2 weeks in a row, and the Dragons did.
Very lucky, considering this is their second win in their last 14 games.
Yes, I know. Please don't remind me. But in saying that, Anzac Day is always traditionally a very, very good clash.
Just happens to be one the Roosters have dominated in the last few years.
Hey, Dragons had a few years dominance. Don't forget that.
Oh, could I?
But this one's hard. What side are we going to get from the Dragons? The Roosters, we know what we're going to get. But the Dragons, we don't know what we're going to get. Do we get a side against Newcastle, or do we get a side that we lost majority of this season for?
That's the question. Which Dragon side are we going to get?
It's like the Warriors. What side do we get from them? Anzac Day. I always look forward to Anzac Day matches. I'm gonna tip the Roosters in a 7-12 margin to win by 10. But I'll still be supporting the Dragons, of course.
The Dragons are going to bring their A game here. They like playing Anzac Day, albeit the last 2 out of 3 they haven't really liked playing. And they always give the Roosters a nice, tight game.
That is very true indeed.
But the Roosters are still probably amongst one of the best 6 sides in the NRL. And with that forward pack, if they continue to get Radley ball playing early and running hard through the middle off the back of that, I think the Roosters will be very hard to chase down. I think The margin's 7-12, but I'm backing the Sydney Roosters in on this one.
Yeah. Like me, backing in Roosters in 7-12 margin, but as always, I still support the Dragons regardless of who I tip.
And finally, on the Anzac Day, it's the Melbourne Storm and the New Zealand Warriors.
Warriors, Matt Lodge is back from a side strain. Aaron Pene goes to the bench with Daniel Otukolo. Thank you. Dropping out, Josh Curran and Johnson have been named despite copying head knocks last round, with Tugvanga serving his 2-game ban is named amongst the reserves.
Meanwhile, for the Melbourne Storm, Ryan Pappenhausen has been named despite not despite the ankle injury last week, really. The Bromwich brothers is once again back in the side, with the Cheese and Trent Liero back to the bench, and Chris Lewis and Alec McDonald dropping out. So Melbourne very resilient, not having both the Bromwich brothers there, now back in the side.
That is very true. Like, Melbourne still did very well without the Bromwich brothers. That just shows what depth they've got.
And against the Sharks forward pack, which many assume were going to run right over the top of them. But it's that next man mentality that you look at the Panthers, the Storm, the Roosters, St. Helens, and the Wigan Warriors. Probably the best 5 clubs in the rugby league world right now.
Yeah. Hard to argue.
Catalan Dragons just on the outside, I'm with them. But those 5 clubs in particular, next man up mentality. And we'll cover this more tomorrow in the Super League Week 10 debrief. But getting back onto this game, again, there's really just a class difference here.
Depending, it's going to be a class difference, but the Warriors could do what they did against the Roosters.
If the Warriors are to be a chance, they need to limit the impact of Cameron Munster because he tore the Sharks
Harry
up.
Grant.
And Harry Grant.
Well, Sharks did contain Harry Grant for a fair bit of the game.
But they need to maintain that.
Yes.
Having Matt Lodge back stiffens up the forward pack to a greater degree. But just looking at that, Melbourne are just the complete package. Them and the Panthers. Many have tipped them to be in the grand final. Once again, I don't think that will happen. I do think Melbourne will be in the grand final, but I don't think the Panthers will. I think the Melbourne Storm win this 13 plus off the back of being buoyed of having the Bromwich brothers back in the ranks.
Yeah. I'm going to say Melbourne to win as well, but only by 18 points. The Warriors will obviously try their best and try to continue on what they did against the Roosters.
Yeah, that definitely will be the case. And that's all we have time for in the NRL Week 7 debrief. But don't go anywhere. We'll be back tomorrow with the Betfred Super League Week 10 debrief. A mountain of fixtures to get through. But don't forget to give us a follow on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram. It is Sideline Chat. And on Twitter, it is Sideline Chat RL. And don't forget, the Cowboys Career Mode Series is back up and running with Round 3 available now. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.